All right, here's a few news articles I thought were interesting. This one, what is this, garbage? Okay. Caught my attention. SAML is Security Assertion Markup Language, and it's used, for example, by Canvas and a whole lot of services. Oh, and I should turn this on. And it turns out that people generate SAML certificates. Now, one thing you do is use a cloud authentication solution. SAML is security assertion markup language, so it sends security assertions like, I am currently logged in as the administrator. And that statement will be accompanied by a digital signature, so it can be verified, and that includes a private key, so nobody can forge it. And apparently the correct technique to do this is to generate the private key in the cloud where you need it. And apparently, I didn't fully understand the details, there are situations where this key is created somewhere and then insecurely transmitted elsewhere so it can be stolen. And that's what they're warning about. These are SAML forging attacks, and they come from people who somehow managed to steal the private key. So anyway, I thought I'd mention that. It's interesting. I know some SAML attacks, but I wasn't aware of this one where it has to do with which system you generate the key on and how it's transmitted. Now, this is something that is increasingly getting a lot of attention, is putting up some kind of artificial cooling to compensate for global warming. Some people say that this is terrible and what we need to do is stop using fossil fuels, which is probably correct in an ideal world, but in practice, people are not using fossil fuels. We just keep using more and more of them. And so if that is not on the table to stop using fossil fuels, then we're going to have to artificially compensate for the fossil fuels by doing something to slow down Earth warming. And so here's one of the many recommendations. They want to seed the stratosphere with particles so the water will condense and fall out of the stratosphere, dehydrating it, because water vapor in the stratosphere is a greenhouse gas. So this is one of several techniques I've heard of. And so I think we're really going to have to start investigating these. I mean, we are in the position of somebody doing something unhealthy and having to compensate for it. And doing nothing, continuing to burn fossil fuels, while not doing anything to compensate for it, would be worse, I suppose. However, these techniques are expensive and dangerous too, to cool the earth. So Elon Musk was originally part of OpenAI, and then he left. Now, Elon Musk lies a lot, and he poses a lot as like virtuous and powerful when he isn't. So it's hard to know what happened. But one story that I think came from him is that OpenAI, there are different religions of this, there are different versions of this insane religion worshiping artificial intelligence that is all over Silicon Valley. And one of them is that you should promote artificial general intelligence and keep it under control so it is helpful to humans. And that, I think, is accelerationism. But I'll forget the names. There's another version, though, which apparently is popular inside OpenAI, which is we should cause artificial intelligence to evolve as quickly as possible, get as powerful as possible, and not worry about keeping it under human control. But instead, we should accept that humans are going to go extinct and be obsolete and be replaced by robots, which are the superior species. And this, according to Elon Musk, is why he left OpenAI, because that was crazy to him. Anyway, it has now turned into him suing them, because I think what really matters to Elon Musk is money. And all this posing about which science fiction future you're heading for is all nonsense. And he thinks he invested in OpenAI when it was a nonprofit, and you wouldn't get much return from that investment, I think. But now then they turned to a for-profit model. Sam Altman changed it into a more commercial product when it started as a nonprofit, and various people think that should be illegal. That's crazy. How can you collect money without promising a return and then decide later to turn into a profit company? So he's suing them. So we'll see if that business model gets overturned in the courts or anything. Anyway, OpenAI is by far the leader Everybody involved in the business seems to be completely insane, and they have to talk complete nonsense about how these artificial general intelligence robots are going to get smarter than humans, which I don't think is ever going to happen. And it is, like so many things in politics, there's important stuff happening, and there's a thick layer of lies on top of it. Like I mentioned before, I think Microsoft is by far the most sensible operator in the artificial intelligence space. They don't push any of this science fiction nonsense. They just make normal commercial products like GitHub Copilot and Windows Copilot that are just sort of the next generation of search engines to help you, and they don't pretend that it's going to like change the whole world. Anyway, so Pegasus is the most scary spyware that we've been hearing about for years. The stuff that came from an Israeli company, and it can just take over your phone and steal all your messages and emails and everything off your phone without you ever knowing it. It is expensive, and it's used by rich people and nation-state actors all over the world. And now, and this Israeli company has been accused by Meta of spying on 1,400 users, and they have demanded to see their source code. Now, that would pretty much destroy the product if their source code was exposed, I think. But anyway, it'll go on. This is spyware is big business and highly controversial. And these people tend to end up on the entity list, as NSO did, being blocked from American business. Anyway, that may improve security a bit if something is done a bit about Pegasus. Pegasus is pretty scary stuff. Anyway, I'm going to stop this.